I was in Sydney, Australia when I first heard about this disease and how it was impacting the world. Australia was one of the countries that did not have rapid spread, so that I never thought it would become this severe. I thought it was just some sort of foreign story that's got nothing to do with me. So my usual life continued seamlessly. Suddenly, I noticed that local restaurants and shops began to shut down. It was a measure that was taken only temporarily due to the Australian government's administrative order, but it came to me as an enormous shock, since I have never seen such a situation in my whole life. I actually experienced the toilet paper hoarding. After a long consideration, I made my decision and booked a single ticket to Korea, my mother country. It was a life-changing decision as my life there was already planned for a longer term, and when I was making that plan, going back to Korea was not on the list. When I told my friends about the decision I made, most of them told me just to stay and cope, saying it will pass sooner or later, because Australia had been managing the situation quite well, even though there were some moments when the number of the infected was increasing exponentially. Furthermore, I was actually quite fortunate since I did not get any fatal damage by the situation, physically or financially, because I had a secure job. But I thought that Australia's entire economic system was experiencing an unprecedented crisis which will take months or years to recover. Additionally, although Australia handled the situation very well, but from my perspective, my home country, South Korea, seemed to be handling it better. So it was the reason why I chose to come back. Getting a ticket was a challenge. Australia government closed the border and banned foreign entrants. Therefore, there was no inbounding flights, which indicated that there's no outbounding flight either. But I heard some news that Korean embassy and Korean community, as well as Korean travel agencies, were working closely to organize chartered airplanes. So I just waited for a vacancy. I think I spent more than 5 hours surfing webs to find information about the ticket almost every day. And one day I managed to book a spot. The night before the flight, I couldn't sleep, not because I was excited at the thought of going back, but because I felt like I was going back unwillingly and I knew that it was not going to be a holiday. On the departing day, the airport was empty as I expected, but the flight to Korea was almost fully booked and crammed. It was unlike my expectation because I heard a rumor that airlines didn't take full bookings to minimize the risk of infection. The flight itself was the same as usual, except that I was required to wear a mask throughout the flight. I landed on Seoul. At the airport, everything seemed well organized and controlled. I had to fill out many forms and go through many interviews. I was surprised that they actually called my mom at 6 a.m. in the morning to confirm if the contact detail I had provided them was valid. I had a direct flight from Sydney to Seoul, but unfortunately, I live in Busan, which is far away from where I landed. Thankfully, the public transport was well organized, specifically for those who are foreign entrants. I was able to travel safely without any contact with what I call normal people, except medical teams or military or police force who are working at the site. I was sent from the airport to a train station by a chartered bus and then transferred to a train to Busan that had 2 chartered carriages for us. I was required to have the test after I arrived in Busan, and there was a chartered taxi waiting for me, and I finally got home safely. I was surprised to see how all those safety measures were interconnected and efficiently utilized. Also, I was always guided by someone who was trained to do such work throughout the journey to home. And my self-quarantine started. The next day, I got my relief supplies delivered, such as sanitizing gels and sprays, masks, water, food, and self-isolation manual. They also provided me with bin bags, which I can put all my rubbish. The purpose of it was that my rubbish, potentially contaminated if I was tested positive, was not handled by regular rubbish pickup service, but someone would have come to me only to pick up my rubbish, and I believe they would be disposed in a certain way. Also, I got my test result on that day, and it was negative. But I still was required to stay home for another 13 days, since I could be the incubatory carrier. I had a government officer assigned to me, and she called me every day to confirm my condition. Also, I needed to do self-condition check using the mobile phone application twice a day. I spent my time mostly watching Korean TV shows, eating and sleeping. My biorhythm got terribly ruined since I did not have work. So I ended up going to sleep at 7 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes it was dragged as late as 11 a.m., or should I say as early as 11 a.m. This never-ending self-quarantine finished about 2 weeks ago, and now I'm free. Till now, I can't actually feel that I'm in Korea. I will need to pick up the sense of life here, adjust my life accordingly. I have mixed emotion, but mostly worry and anxiety, because my life here is so uncertain and things have been changed a lot while I was not here. But what can I do? I'll just carry on with my life.